Hi, it's Steve the Grumpy Hypnotist. Today I'm going to talk about a pretty simple way to increase your odds of being successful at any sort of behavioral change that you intend or hope to make in your life. It's based on this thing called implementation intentions. A simpler way to put that is to make sure that whatever you hope or intend to happen, you have it written down in a very simple form that can be summed up. Instead of implementation instructions, we can just call it like IFthen, IFthen rule sets. Now, through quite a lot of research, it's been shown that if people actually take the time to write these things down, to specify if something happens, then they intend to do something at that time to modify their existing patterns, that more than doubles the chances of someone being successful at actually doing that when the time comes. The problem with this type of if-then or implementation instruction concept, I found, is that if it's not understood or if it's not explained clearly, very often it's very common for people to assume that this if-then statement is along the lines of like a wish or like a goal. For example, instead of in its proper form, in the way that's been studied and shown to again more than double the chances of success, it's in a form of, for example, if the waiter asks me if I want to see a dessert menu, then I'll say no thanks, just a check. Something as simple as that. If X happens, then I will do Y, or when X happens, then I will do Y. Now, for some strange reason, I guess it's human nature, very commonly people have a resistance to the idea of actually programming themselves in that way. And it's very strange because, in the self-help field especially, there's always people blabbering about programming the mind and programming yourself for success, that kind of thing. Well, programming is all completely dependent on if-then statements and loops and that kind of thing, logic gates and stuff. It's all dependent on if X and then Y, So, but for some reason, again, like humans have this resistance or hesitation about, okay, I will do this when that happens, even though this is something that you're supposed to write down yourself out of your own free will, So you're programming your future self essentially to do something. So again, I think what I've observed is very often people treat it like if I make $1 million, then I'll be happy and healthy, or if I lose weight, then I'll feel good about myself, which actually is totally backwards, actually, the way it should work. Or if I stop smoking, then I will be healthy, that kind of thing. I will feel better. That's not the point of if-then implementation intentions. That's more like, that's nice to have that goal in mind. Well, if I get the result I want, then I'll be happy. Well, of course you will. I mean, who wouldn't? Happiness might not last in that sense. I mean, this is kind of temporary, like achievement type of things. But so it's good not to be too focused on. But anyway, kind of diverting there. But so the thing about the value of if-then, this concept in terms of hypnosis, is particularly because in hypnosis there's this thing called posthypnotic suggestions. Some people abbreviate like PHS, posthypnotic suggestions. The idea there is that in hypnosis you can give suggestions which are meant to be triggered at a certain time in the future. Like, for example, over-dramatized type of fictionalized dramatic type of things, like if the sun rises, then you'll cluck like a rooster, or whatever kind of thing like that. If you see a mop, you'll start dancing with it. That kind of thing. That kind of silly dramatic stage type of stuff. So that's all dependent on if-then as well in a strange way. But if people want to make behavioral changes, we can make use of that in a less silly way, obviously. If I smell cigarette smoke, I'll I'll get some fresh air or something like that. Or if I feel the urge to have a cookie, then I'll get a glass of water. Now, so those are like real practical post-hypnotic suggestions that can be applied. They sound too simple, and it kind of reminds me actually of I mentioned this concept, this if-then, the importance of implementing or setting these up, because then we can make use of them in hypnosis. And sometimes, at least in one case, the response was, "Well, I don't need hypnosis to come up with those rules." And so, of course, but this person never did. They never actually wrote down what they wanted to happen. They never planned for anything. They just thought, well, I want to get hypnotized, so I'll be healthy. Well, how's that going to happen if we don't change anything? Well, so it's this kind of thinking that it makes people think about what they need to do. And hypnosis, the point of post-hypnotic suggestion is to make that if-then automatic, much more, so that when something happens, like something in your mind clicks, like, oh, do this. I find myself getting water for some reason, or I find myself doing some centering exercise or something like that. That's the whole point of post-hypnotic suggestions in practical work with clients, to make that automatic. Then it becomes like a habit over time, pretty quickly sometimes. But if people aren't willing to even consider that concept of if-then, then that's not a good sign, right? Because that means that that's not a red flag. A lot of these videos that I have are regarding like red flags we look for. If someone is unwilling to spell out, especially in writing, if someone is unwilling to come up with like rules that they want to implement, that kind of indicates that they want something to happen, but they don't want to change anything. They don't want to change any behavior that results in a result that they're getting in life that they don't like. So I don't know where that would go, but anyway, hopefully this clarifies what this means by if-then implementation intentions. Again, it's not about like if I whatever win a lottery, then I'll be happy and feel wonderful and have a wonderful life. And that's nonsense anyway. I mean, it doesn't seem to have that kind of effect, obviously. But again, this is meant to clarify the importance of that, and also the true nature of if-then and how it can be used within a hypnotic context. The thing about post-hypnotic suggestions is that they can't be relied upon perfectly. You can't expect them to be triggered perfectly. It's just not real in real life. So it can be a good idea to have a variety of them to increase the odds of some of them occurring, which will help modify certain patterns in your life. But again, it's all meant to be done out of your own free will. So hopefully meant to also maybe reduce any sort of resistance towards this idea of becoming like a automaton, like a robotic, like programmed creature. Because I'm not going to tell you, like, the hypnotist should not be telling you what you should be doing at certain points in your life. So maybe some hypnotists like the idea of doing that, I don't know. But if you don't know what you want to do at certain points in your life to make positive changes, I don't know either, really. So I don't know what I would tell you. So it's good to come up with at least some general idea of what these things would be. Again, you don't have to get too caught up in, okay, this has to happen exactly this way. And these are just plans, essentially. And they can be flexible. They might work in different ways in real life than was intended. Not in a negative way. I've never seen that happen. But without a plan of that sort, without that kind of rule, chances are nothing will really happen, unless just by pure lucky accident and that kind of thing. Okay, once again, it's Steve the Grumpy Hypnotist, and you can Google implementation intentions. There's plenty of information, scholarly research, peer-reviewed research about the benefits of that. It's been well studied. Again, implementation intention in Google. Thanks, bye.